One of the biggest questions within moral philosophy is what our moral words actually means and refers to. Emotivism is the view that our moral words is nothing more but an expression of our feelings or sentiments. But is there really nothing more to morality than that? Hello everyone, my name is Pelle W. I'm a philosopher with a degree from Lund University, and today we're discussing emotivism. Let's get started. So in this video, I'm first going to give you a quick introduction to what emotivism is, and then I'm going to compare it with a moral objectivist view, which will show why emotivism makes sense. But before we do that, we need to discuss a little bit of philosophy of language.
Back in the 1930s, A.J Ayer pretty much solved a lot of problems within the domain of metaethics. Ayer was a part of the logical positivist movement, who were very critical of any metaphysical endeavors. One of their main principles were the principle of verification, which states that a statement is meaningful if and only if it is either empirically verifiable or tautological. Now, what does that mean?
Take for instance these two sentences. The cat is on the mat. I know what a cat is, and I know what a mat is, and I know what it looks like when something is on top of something else. Therefore, it is very simple for me to verify whether the sentence is true or not. And then 2. All bachelors are unmarried. This is what's called a tautology. This sentence is true by virtue of the meaning of the terms that are used. If I know what a bachelor is, then I know that unmarried is contained within that word. So according to Ayer, both of these two sentences are meaningful according to the principle of verification. Ayer then applied the same principle onto our moral words. So if we take the sentence, lying is wrong, how can we verify that sentence? Well, we could, for instance, create a survey where we force everyone on the planet to answer whether it is wrong or not. But even if we received a 90% yes, that wouldn't actually show that it is in fact wrong. Because morality isn't determined by majority vote. What that survey would show us is only what people believe to be wrong, not what actually is wrong. There's a difference between beliefs and truths. So how do we verify the sentence then? Well, if we ask Ayer, he would say that we can't verify it. Therefore is this sentence, at least the last part of it, meaningless. So this theory effectively renders every moral word as meaningless. But do they completely lack content? Not quite. So what are our moral words then? Well, if we ask Ayer, he would say that they are merely expressions of our sentiments or emotions, hence the name, emotivism. And the important part here is that our emotions lack truth value. They are not what's called truth apt.
There are certain words or sentences that do not describe the world at all, and they are incapable of either being true or false. For instance, open the door. Is that sentence true or false? Neither. It is not truth apt. Now, let me give you an analogy. Let's say that we're watching a game of football. On the one side, a crowd shouts, "Hooray for Helsingborg!" They are expressing a positive emotion towards their team. But on the other side, a different part of the crowd shouts, "Boo for Helsingborg!"
So here we seemingly have a logical contradiction, which is unacceptable. But that is the point here. Because words like boo and hooray does not describe the world at all. They are not truth apt. And Ayer claimed that it is the same thing with our moral words. They are just like boo or hooray. So some might actually say that all our moral words can be translated to something like boo or hooray. But importantly here, Emotivism is not claiming that you can translate it to I dislike X, because whether someone dislikes something or not, that actually has truth value. The main thing about emotivism is that they are non-cognitive expressions that lacks truth value.
But I would actually say that even translating a moral word like bad into boo is going a little bit too far. For instance, if I said it was wrong that you lied, the word wrong here is meaningless, and the only thing that the word wrong adds to the sentence is my attitude towards it. So Ayer would argue that you would get exactly the same result by instead saying you lied with a horrid tone.
So the sentence lying is wrong should basically be translated to lying. Some of you might be appalled by this theory, which I completely understand. You might claim that I know that murder is wrong. I can feel it. It's a fact. Where Ayer would just say, yeah, you can feel it, but you can't verify it. But before you turn off this video, let me give you a quick rationale why this theory makes sense.
Let's compare with a form of moral objectivism. Let's take Analytic Utilitarianism as a comparison. According to this theory, what makes an action good is the happiness it produces. So if that theory is true, there are actually moral facts, because we can empirically verify whether or not an action produces happiness. But there is a big problem with this view. Back in the 18th century, David Hume realized that almost every moral philosopher was making a logical fallacy. He realized that it is impossible to logically infer a prescriptive ought from a factual is. This is commonly referred to as Hume's law. For instance, no matter how much happiness a certain act would result in, there is nothing intrinsically within that factual statement that prescribes me to perform it. There is nothing intrinsic to happiness that tells me that I ought to do it.
But Hume's law certainly isn't a problem for emotivism, because according to emotivism, there are no moral facts at all. We can't derive an ought from an is, because oughts are merely expressions of our emotions. Here's another big problem for objectivist theories. It simply seems to be the case that morality varies across cultures, right? But how can we explain that if morality is objective?
If there are objective moral facts that are available to us, wouldn't every human being on the planet come to the same moral conclusions all the time? How are we to explain the variations of morality?
But this certainly isn't a problem for emotivism. Different cultures have different sentiments towards different acts. Simple as that. So that's why emotivism makes sense. It has no problem whatsoever with Hume's law, and it can easily explain why morality varies across cultures. But, as always, there is one huge problem with this theory, the Frege-Geach problem, but I'll save that for the next episode. But if you want to learn more about Hume's law and why it's such a big problem for morality, then I suggest you check out this video here where I explain it more thoroughly. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.